Hello, so you've just bought yourself an AeroPress, or perhaps you were gifted it. Now you're wondering just what to do with it after looking at the instructions. Well, let's go over that. We're going to go over the basic recipe, we'll go over the parts that we have here, talk a little bit of some tips that Alan gave on how to brew the AeroPress, and then we're also going to look at a more advanced method near the end of the video. Let's go over the parts that come with the kit. We have the filter cap, we have a plunger, this is the chamber, we have some filters, this is a funnel, scoop, stir stick. More of a stir paddle though, this is aggressive. So let's brew a coffee like Alan Adler designed it. Who's Alan Adler? He's the guy that invented the AeroPress after being frustrated trying to brew a single cup of coffee out of his drip brewer. He was an engineer, he designed the Aerobee, and he went to his shop and started building many different prototypes. This is his end result, came out in about 2004. So we're looking at something that's like 21 years old. So we are going to use his original recipe where he calls for 80 degrees Celsius water and a scoop. We're gonna take a single paper filter. They're very thin, very lightweight. We're gonna put that in. We're going to install this on the brew chamber. Place it on your sturdy mug. This is the mug that my boy made. It's my favorite. We are going to take a scoop of coffee. So this is a medium fine drip coffee. We're gonna go for a rounded scoop. Now, if you're trying to pour this in, that's where this funnel comes in handy. Takes most of the hassle out of that. Next, we're gonna put in our 80 degrees Celsius water. We're going to fill it in between the 1 and the 2. We are going to stir for 10 seconds, and then we're going to put the plunger in and directly start plunging. There. This stir stick has been designed that it can go all the way in and it will not scratch the paper in the bottom. So 10 seconds. Put this plunger in. And then you'll see videos of Alan standing there just kind of squeezing it down like this, and he'll be talking about the sweetness of the coffee. Okay, so now we're just pushing through the air. We can take this off and we'll just place it on another mug. You're gonna wanna just keep pressing that. Now this is what Alan would call espresso style coffee. You could drink it as it is quite strong, or you could top it off with water, which he would call Americano style. But as this is not espresso, that cannot be an Americano. We could call it an AeroPressicano. So when you're done, you push this all the way down and clean up as a snap. This is where I like this better than the French press. So this will come off. This will just pop out. This now just gets rinsed off. And you're ready to go for another coffee. This is an excellent cup of coffee. The first thing I would suggest to making better coffee at home would be a cheap kitchen scale and whole bean coffee. Now you could start getting a lot more consistent. I've seen people talk about measuring the top of this cup, and that's about 15 grams, and it is. This is very close to 15 grams. It's very easy though to go from 14.5 to 15.5. So 1 gram on your ratio will start to make a bit of a difference. The scoop that we have here, I have measured over and over and over how much each scoop takes out. So let's tear this off. Now if I take out, this is a rounded scoop, we're at 15.3 grams, okay? There's another one, it's not quite so rounded, 13.8 grams, but there's not a whole difference, I think, between this one and that previous one, but it was 1.5 grams difference in coffee. So having a scale and having whole bean coffee will allow your coffee to be much better. Now that you're getting some whole bean coffee, you're going to need some type of grinder. Could start out with a simple hand grinder. This is a Porlix, it's got ceramic blades, maybe not as good as metal ones. I've seen some recommendations for something called a kin grinder. I don't have one. I've seen some good reviews of it. I like this grinder because as a part of my camp kit, everything starts to compact very nicely and I can carry it all in that bag and it doesn't take up a lot of room in my backpack. If you do not have a kettle that you can have temperature control on, one of Alan's tips was to heat 2 cups of water in the microwave and use your kitchen thermometer to see how close it gets to that 80. And for my microwave, 2.5 minutes heats up 2 cups of water to just over 80. So I would take that water, by the time I get all my bits and pieces together, it would be just right to do my plunge. So next up, what we can do is a more advanced version of coffee brewing called the inverted method. You are going to be filling this up with hot water and it's going to be balancing. And you are not going to want this flipping over on you because it's going to make a hot, dangerous mess. This is like a disaster level tiger, okay? So you're going to want to practice that a little bit. It's not a bad idea. So you could just use some cold tap water, use your mug, and do this over top of the sink. Give it a go. A couple times just to have a feel for it. Because the time to learn is not when you are here. And then when it does come time to using the off-boil water, you'll be prepared for it. Okay, now we've made some room in our coffee cups. We can brew the next method. We are going to put the plunger about 1 centimeter inside the cup. And this recipe comes from Mark Prince. There was a machine that came out 2008 or so called the Clover, and it would make a single cup of coffee using a different technology. It was like a reverse vacuum plunger. And so he felt that this has to be able to replicate that. And so that's what he said about. In his method, he uses a metal filter because that's what that machine used. I don't have metal filters. They are available for the AeroPress. The AeroPress has piles of accessories. You can get accessories that would make it more like an espresso, accessories that will prevent the drip from happening. That would happen if you fill it up all the way with water in the standard method. So I'm just going to use a paper. Now the Clover recipe is 21 grams of coffee, and you're going to be basically filling this whole thing up with the water, and there'll be some stirring involved. You use off-boil water somewhere between 208 and 210 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to set my water to 205 Fahrenheit, but that's simply because with my coffee that I have, that's what I prefer for flavor. Let's go 21 grams. You know what? This can also be used, let's say you're going to press some coffee, but you want to put it right into your travel mug. So this would normally fit on a bigger cup. It will not fit on a smaller, oh, well, this is bigger enough. Okay, so let's say this is my wife's fellow travel mug. It will fit on here, okay, with the filter cup. The filter cup will fit on here just nicely, but on my Yeti, it will not fit. Kind of is wobbly. It's not so good, kind of sketchy. If you put this in here and that, it gives it just a little bit more of a bite and it doesn't wiggle around quite as bad. It's a little bit more stable because you actually have some penetration there. Back to our inverted method. That would have been terrible. $13.5. Good. Okay, so it's 21 grams. If you didn't have the scale, you could use 3 rounded tablespoons. Oh, this isn't a tablespoon, but a tablespoon is about 7 grams when it's rounded. So 3 of those would get you pretty similar to what this is. Again, kitchen scale. Now we're going to add 100 grams of water. We're going to stir the slurry. We're going to add up to 225. We'll give it 2 more stirs carefully, and then we'll top off 40 or 50 more grams. We're going to attach the filter, attach the mug, carefully flip it over. We're going to pause for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then we're going to push. Let's give it a go. Depending on how fresh your coffee is, you might have a bit more of a bloom here. You may not be able to get up that full 40 or 50 grams. At the end of it all, if you find that you need to add a little bit of hot water, that's fine. We have our stirrer ready. We're going to start our timer, and we're going to go for 100. There it is. Okay. 10 seconds. Now we're going to stir our turry. Okay, now we are going to top up to 225. That is almost full. At 50 seconds, we're going to give the next 2 stirs. 1, 2. Oh yeah. And now we're going to add our last 40 to 50. But I am just going to fill to what I feel comfortable with. Now this is actually something I should have done earlier, and that's wet the filter paper. Because you're going to find attaching this and flipping it over is much easier if it's actually been wet. It's going to stick in there now. But we're ready. We're going to put this on here. Put that on there. Now we are going to give this a little bit of a push down. You want the air out, because if there's no air in there, it doesn't explode quite the same. Holding both parts, flip over. Now we're going to wait 5 to 10 seconds. Just let that bed settle a little bit. And now we are going to start pressing. You'll find with the AeroPress, if you push too hard, you're going to start pushing the big chunks through, and it's going to not taste as good. You'll have more of a mouth feel, and the whole reason you're using the AeroPress instead of a French press is because you want that clear drink. I can hear the hiss now. There's been a lot of debate about whether you should press through the hiss or not. Do what you want. Actually, try pressing through the hiss, try not pressing through the hiss, and do a blind taste testing. Because if you believe you're going to taste the difference, you will. Same thing with wetting the filter. If you believe you're going to taste the difference with wetting the filter, you will. But it might be just an extra step you don't have to do. Okay, and again, quick cleanup. Quick cleanup is done, and now we have a taste of history. You now have 2 methods of making your AeroPress coffee. I would suggest giving them both a try. There's definitely piles of recipes out there, and you don't necessarily have to try to follow Gold Cup standards. Find out what you like the flavor of. If you are thinking you want to try something else with a little bit different mouthfeel, you already have a French press, then I might suggest Vietnamese spin. And in this next video, I will go over making coffee with that.